what do we got? We got 10 seasons, 208 episodes, like 23 years ago. Give it up. You know Miss Skinner, give it up for Mr. Mitch Pileggi! And keep making noise, make a lot of noise. Of course, you know him as Fox Mulder from the X-Files. Give it up for David Duchovny!
Surprise, there he is. Whoa,
Hey, how y'all doing?
It's always nice when we get like cozy couches to sit on. These are very
Just,
comfortable. You can kick back.
Let me just take a nap.
Yeah. The first question I have is like these characters. Like, are these characters in 8 episodes, 10 seasons? Yeah, I years. Do you guys, as actors, do you still actually like these characters? Like, are these characters that you look at and you're like, yeah, okay, I still would like Fox and Skinner as people?
As long as it checks cash, I'll play this character forever. I love him. No, it's great. These are great characters, and it's like it's a big part of my life and David's life, I'm sure, and so it was a treat to come back and play the character again, and hopefully we get to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because we had such a long time off between season 9 and 10 was 45 years or something, so it was a long time to miss playing a character. So I think, if we'd been doing this continuously, I don't think Mitch would be dead.
We'd be dead.
But yeah, as you go away from something for a while, you get more of an appreciation for it and for the characters.
Well, I mean, as a fan of the show when it was originally airing, like, I remember looking at the Mulder character and being like, yeah, like I dig this guy. I know where his mindset is. I see where he's coming from, kind of thing. Like was sort of a guy in his early 30s, right? An inquisitive guy. But as you get older, is it harder to see sort of his mindset? Like when you're going back for season 10, was it a little bit harder to slip into that mindset of a guy now in his 50s, still with that same attitude, still with that mindset?
It's a good question, but that was actually what was most interesting to me as an actor, to go back to a character after that long, at a different age. And yeah, he was kind of defined by his enthusiasm and his drive, which, in your 50s is going to be different. It's going to look different, it's going to feel different, and if it doesn't, it's going to look ridiculous. So it was an interesting challenge to try to play this guy in different stages of a man's life.
Mm-hmm. What about with Skinner? Like, I mean, he's a guy that, it's not that nothing changed for him, but he was still very much a company man on this same sort of path. I
always thought so. I always thought he was a company man.
You always thought he was a company man?
Very much company man.
He was a company man.
Skinner was old when it started, and he's still old, so it's like...
I mean, did you just slip right back into that skin then?
Yeah, Skinner slipped back into the skin. It was really just like riding a bike. The first scene that I had was with David walking into the office where he kicks the kicks the iconic poster and tears it, which took you a couple times to get that thing to tear, wasn't it?
Well, of course, Chris wanted it torn in an exact spot.
In a very exact.
Who the fuck can do that?
Was it pre-torn at all? Like, so you?
No, man. He had to step on it and kick it a certain way, and it was like, how many did we go through? There was a few.
There weren't as many as I would have wanted going in. I think we had like 4. I was like, okay, well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Did either of you guys find yourself, I mean, when you're an actor, back in the 90s, and you got this great gig that ends up being so iconic, it would make sense to be a little bit sentimental as you're walking away from the show, and everybody always asks, did you take something with you? I'm not going to ask that. I'm going to ask, like, when you come back for the revival, is there any kind of sentimentality that you're like, you know what? This might really be the last time I see this poster or whatever, so I'm going to take this little object away from the revival set.
Listen, I got a storage room full of X-Files stuff, including the pinball machine and a lot of scripts. I've got one of the Letterman jackets from that. What was that episode with the It had the goat on the back with the horns. Anyway, I can't. You guys probably know better than we do.
But did you add anything?
I did. You know, I didn't because it was so quick and.
Well, it's called theft.
It was called stealing. Yes. I took. Well. I got these right here. I got these are his glasses. So when I originally auditioned for the role of Skinner at the beginning, I walked into a room with a pair of glasses that I ended up, the round ones that I ended up wearing for about 5 or 6 seasons, and then when we came back to do the new 6 episodes, they brought these out, and I said those are the ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I still got it. And every time we do another, like when we did the movie before, I've stolen so many pairs of glasses from that show. So anyway, yeah.
I don't have anything. I do have a pinball machine. I have a pinball machine.
You still got it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I get it serviced every now and then, so it works.
Do you really?
And I play it.
Do you?
I do.
Arlene may be taken out of the living room.
I will kick your ass at it as well.
You probably will. He's kicked my ass at every game that we've ever played.
No, I'm a good pinball player. If
He's a
anybody
good
wants,
bowler. He's a good pool player. It
take
makes
me
me
out.
sick.
It's like one of the licensed X-Files pinball machines, or?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, does it have your face on it or
Yeah.
something?
Oh,
Or-
yeah, it's got our faces and our voices coming out of it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like
It says your resignation is unacceptable.
Well, let's throw it to an audience question. Hi there.
I tried several times to come up with a question. I couldn't do it. Several pencils, papers later. So I'm just gonna fucking gush, okay?
Okay.
My wife and I, when we were getting married, we were gonna do an X-Files themed wedding. Didn't happen. We wanted to do it in a church, but there's always vow renewal. We just couldn't find anybody to go bald to play A.D. Skinner to marry us. So that didn't happen. And also, I'm a very huge fan of the Charles Manson mythos. So your character, when I found out that show was going, I was like, this is my dream television show, you know? So I was a huge fan of Aquarius, X-Files, pretty much everything that you do, any movie that you're in, I'm gonna watch it, you know? So no question, just
Fan
wanted
boy.
to say, huge fan, great work.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I'll just say, my man.
Ah, man, that's right. All right, thank you guys.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Yeah.
There you go. Where is she? You're all married again.
Yeah. It counts. It's legal. Yeah. Thank you. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Jump up. How you doing, darling?
I am doing well. Okay, so this question's for David. Based off of the ending of Californication, do you think that they lived happily ever after, or do you think that Hank reverts to his old ways? And why do you think that he always ended up in such terrible situations?
What was the last part of the question?
Why do you think he always ended up in such terrible situations?
Well, because it's funny. It was comedy, so. Happily ever after, I like to think so. I like to think that they stayed together after they went to New York. You know, I would get asked questions like that a lot when I was doing the show, and it always sounded like a weak answer. But the backstory of the show is that Hank was actually a very faithful guy until they split up. You know, nobody would believe that because of the way the show played out, but he kind of turned to that in his heartbreak. So I imagine when you say revert to his old ways, I say revert to his old faithful ways. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Which isn't as funny, unfortunately.
Doesn't matter. It's good either way.
Thank you.
Hank Moody's what? Bay. Bay. Hank Moody is Bay. It's true.
Hey there.
Hi. First of all, I'm mourning the end of Aquarius, for one thing. It was a great show. But a question for both of you guys. Mitch, what's a favorite scene that you did with David? And David, what's a favorite scene you did with Mitch?
That would have been a great question if it was Mitch, what's the favorite scene you do with David? David, what's the favorite scene you do with Jillian? That would have made me laugh. I thought it was coming. It didn't come. Favorite scene that we did. We had a couple fight scenes that were fun.
Yeah, we had a
okay?
couple. Yeah.
'Cause Mitch is a lot stronger than me, so but Mulder has to hold his own, you know, in those fights. And I can tell Mitch kind of gets pissed off because the script says that I get the upper hand. So I always enjoyed watching Mitch kind of get a little pissed off that I was able to kick his ass a little bit.
I think one of David's favorite scenes of mine is when I got my ass kicked by that little secretary in my. What was it?
That was my favorite.
He keeps bringing that up because remember the time you get your ass kicked by that little bitty girl? You know, we had a lot of fun. We laughed a lot, had a lot of good scenes together. But I think that the fight scenes where we got to wrestle around a little bit. I got you into a pretty good chokehold there one time when you were going.
Well, it was in the script, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
I can't remember, aside from those, like if we laughed, if we had some fun scenes where, I mean, they were fun, but I mean, I can't remember.
I was usually sitting at my desk, and
Yeah.
David and Jillian were in front of the desk. David actually said at one of these things that he didn't know that I really had legs.
I mean, since you guys obviously had a good chemistry and are also friends and everything, aside from the X-Files, do you have a shared love of movies, or is there like another genre that you think you two would want to go work within, another kind of story that you would like to?
Well, when all the shows were doing kind of musicals, there was a time in the late '90s when all the shows would do musical versions of themselves. It was a nightmare, and you're lucky to have missed it. But Mitch is actually a legitimate musical theater performer. And I always knew that Mitch, deep in his heart, wanted to do an X-Files musical.
I did. I wanted to so badly.
The two things that we always talked about was doing an X-Files musical and doing X-Files live, because that was the other thing that was done in the late '90s, kind of come back recently, is to do an hour television show live. I think ER did one. And we talked about doing like an X-Files, which would consist of, doing the teaser, which is where something horrible happens, and then getting on a bus and spending the next 45 minutes going to the next location.
But was it a musical set? I mean, because you're a musician as well. Was there a lot of talk about music going on?
No, I wasn't a musician at that time.
Oh, okay.
And I've always been a fan of music, and Mitch would break into song occasionally, and I always did enjoy that because it was not a world that I knew.
What
And I have to say, I am so in awe of what he's done with his music and the fact that isn't it great? It's awesome. I mean, it's like this guy's got it's amazing, and I'm very proud of him. And
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you.
And hopefully one of these days we'll hook up and get up on stage and sing together.
Yeah. I got ideas.
So what would have been the Skinner musical number? Like something like "I'm So Lonely," like him alone in his office, or what would it have been?
There are songs that you would go to often. What would?
Well, I broke into a lot of musical songs. I mean, stuff from Fiddler on the Roof or
Fiddler, yeah.
or Oliver or Jesus Christ
If you can
Superstar.
imagine being in a scene with Mitch, and then all of a sudden you look over and there's Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof, and you're like, that's really not helping.
I feel like you've just given the internet so much fodder. There's like now fan fiction being written about that. Hi there.
Hi. I just want to say both of you guys, we've loved
Just lean into the mic a little bit.
loved your character in Supernatural, Californication. Y'all have both been in so many things that everybody loves and appreciates so much, but it always comes back to the X-Files. The question that I have is kind of what y'all were talking about just now. Did you enjoy filming the more serious episodes or the more comedic episodes, such as the Cops X-Files mashup or Mulder and Scully Meet the Weremonster? Because they're both great. Just which one did y'all enjoy filming more?
Well, he got to do all the comedy, and he's very good at it.
He is.
He's very good at it.
It's wonderful.
And so I mean, I was always the straight man to his comedy, except for Hollywood AD. You did give me a few chances.
Yeah. I mean, and that was one of the things that we talked about at the time. I was like, because Mitch is very funny, and when I was writing Hollywood AD, I was like, I want to write a funny version of Skinner. And there's that shot. I mean, I don't know how much you guys know, but there's a shot where we're watching a movie that's in the teaser. We're watching a movie that's been made of this case, and it's a terrible movie. But Skinner is the hero of the movie. He's the total hero of the movie. And the last shot is like I'm mortified sitting there. I look over at Skinner, and it's just like eating popcorn. He's like, "What's up?" And it's just Mitch gets how to twist. It's hard actually to make the funny episodes because you want to retain the integrity of the character, the legitimacy, you know, it's an FBI agent, you know, and the way Darren Morgan writes it, that's not an FBI agent. So you've got to kind of figure out how to do that. So it's again, it's a great challenge. Mitch understood how to do that. We liked to do it, you know, once in a while. It was a nice switch from normal procedural. The show would go back and forth between a procedural, which is fairly dry, to going deeper into the characters' backstories, which was fun dramatically, to a more humorous bent as well.
Thank
Right.
you.
Are you finding that everybody has their favorite episodes, and there's certainly some that are talked about more than others, but are there any episodes that sort of in recent years are starting to get more love that maybe weren't brought up so much in the past?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose. I thought, you know, Peter Boyle was brilliant, and it's like, if you go look at some of the outtakes with Peter Boyle and you guys in that car, it was just, I mean, it's like...
Where do you see those?
Online.
Oh yeah?
There's internet.
You say online like it means something. What does that mean?
The interweb. Yeah, you know, I mean, and of course for me, like Home has always been one of my favorite episodes because it's so sick and I'm so sick. But I mean, yeah, it's you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting that at the anniversary of Home, I think, but you guys did an interview for New York Times, right? Talking about the Home episode. It doesn't.
If you say so.
Yeah, it does. I promise it exists. But it's sort of funny that when you look back at this episode that you did 2 decades ago, that now it's being given this sort of anniversary treatment. Surreal.
When they wouldn't, when after the
Right.
first time, they just said they weren't going to air it anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing about the X-Files, which is interesting, is that, and difficult for the writers, is that each show had to kind of be movie worthy. So, you know, you had to have an hour show that sustained what would normally sustain a 2-hour movie. It had to be that interesting. So when you talk about people being attached to certain shows, well, I get it, because it's a whole story. It's like being attached to a movie in a way.
Hi there.
You stole my question. So I'm gonna go the opposite. What do you have an unfavorite show? Like one that you kind of like look back on and cringe and like, ooh.
So an episode that just
It's not your
doesn't
favorite.
do it for you?
Yeah.
None of them.
None of them.
None. Why? What are you saying?
Least favorite.
Which one?
What are you saying, dude?
What do you have in mind when you ask that question?
I don't know. He just stole my question, so I just went the opposite.
I know, well, now you're feeling the
You're tap
spotlight.
dancing.
I
You're
didn't
tap
have a
dancing.
good backup question.
Well, I think there was one called Tezos dos Bichos.
The cats.
Yeah.
The cat episode. Where Kim directed that, right?
Yeah, that sucked.
Or just any episode without Skinner, right? That's the least
Those
favorite.
are
I
all
have to
bad.
tell you, my favorite episodes are the ones that I'm not in. So I don't know what that says, but yeah. But the cat thing, I remember Kim talking about throwing cats against the wall, or
Anyway, that one.
Thank you. Hi there.
Hi. My question is for Mr. Fox Mulder himself. We know what Fox Mulder believes about aliens and UFOs. What does David believe behind this date?
What? Yeah. So sort of, what is your? Yeah, I heard it. It's what is your personal belief, your take on aliens and UFOs? Since obviously we know what your character.
Well, my personal beliefs are private,
There you go.
but I don't believe in them really.
Aww.
Today.
But you still can. So there you go. Hello.
Okay, so that was my daughter, and she's one of your major fans.
She used to be.
Well, we believe. We went to Roswell, spent a week, we believe. Okay, so you're a musician, Fox, David. Who are your inspirations?
Who are my musical inspirations?
Yes.
Oh, I grew up, I'm fairly old, I grew up loving the Beatles and the Stones and the original British Invasion. 70s rock like Tom Petty, Dylan is a huge inspiration. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to tell you present day stuff because I am an old fogey, but those are like the seminal sounds that I grew up listening to and that are still just kind of coded into my brain.
Yes, thank you.
How about you, Mitch? What's sort of your musical, since
Pink
you're a music
Floyd,
guy?
Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Stones, Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, I love a lot of that stuff. Neil Young.
Yeah, Pink Floyd is certainly like an X-File-esque band.
Pink Floyd's is my top. I think it's just the genius in any incarnation that they came in.
Hi there.
Hi. So I followed the X-Files since its inception, and it kept me sane as a college student in English literature. And so my question has nothing to do with the X-Files, but I want to ask David one question about your book. Can I ask you? So there's a character named Pearl who I think is the way you write her is the best essentialization of a character that I have ever read. Can I read that one line? Do you mind?
Sure.
She smelled like nothing and no one else. A tainted musk, a head-spinning force field of airless nylon crotch, cabbage, pierogi, and coffee, like perfume spritzed above the place where perfume went to die. So my question to you is Pearl real?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I figured she had to be.
Yeah, and she's got to be long, long gone, so it's okay to talk about it. But she was, that was Pearl. That was
Sounds
Pearl.
awesome.
She was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome, but maybe not the best smelling.
Well, you didn't say what her job was. She would look at your ID when you entered the Y. So she sat all day long in a chair as you tried, you show her your ID. So, she didn't get up that much.
Right, okay. Hi there.
Hi Mitch. I'm a huge Sons of Anarchy fan. Can you share something awesome about working with Kurt Sutter?
So, Sons of Anarchy, can you share something awesome about working with Kurt Sutter?
Kurt was great. He's a very, very good writer, and the show was a lot of fun to work on. And the character was interesting, being a white supremacist meth dealing pimp. So I had quite a trifecta there to work with. But at the time that they were doing that I was doing Sons, I was doing a bunch of other stuff, so that there was a lot of times they couldn't bring the character in because I wasn't available. But Kurt, one of the things I like the best about it is the fact that he didn't kill Darby off. Darby's one of the few people still alive in Charming. And now that they're bringing the Mayans back, I was talking to Emilio and I said, "Hey, dude, remember I married a Latina girl, so let's talk to Kurt and see if we can bring Darby back into the scene and to play a little bit." But it was, I had a great time. It was a great group of guys. Every time I just saw Theo, and it's always, what's great about these things is that you develop these families. With every show you do, so it's always, when you run into them again, it's always great. And but I was, when I went in and read for Sons, every time I've ever auditioned for a show, if the director or producer says I'm a big fan of you on the X-Files, I know that I'm not going to get the job. And that was one of the few times I walked into the room and Kurt said, "I'm a huge fan of you on the X-Files. I'm a huge Skinner fan." And I said, "Okay, well, I might as well just leave." But fortunately, he did hire me, and I ended up playing the character, and I had a great time doing it.
Awesome. So we can look forward to seeing you on the Mayan stuff?
I'm not saying that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
He definitely did not say that. Hello.
I got a good question. What is the worst, which is better? The TV series of X-Files or the movie itself?
So I caught TV version versus movie. What was the first part of the question?
Which is better?
Which is better, the TV universe or the movie universe of the X-Files?
I think the X-Files lends itself more to the small screen. I think it just, and it was successful for so many years on the small screen. But I would say TV. If I was going to answer, David could answer too. No? Okay, bye.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, it's interesting when you go back for the revival, and it was 6 episodes, right? So you're really forced to tell tighter stories, shorter season. As actors, is that just so nice and refreshing compared to 22, 24, 26 episode long seasons that had you wrapped up for an entire year?
Well, I think actually 6 was too few. It was, especially after having been gone for so long. But having said that, 23 and 25 is way too many.
Yeah.
Especially for where we are now in our lives. So I think there's a happy medium somewhere in there. I think we can exist as a movie. I think there are 2-hour stories to tell. I think there are 8-hour stories to tell. I think there are 10-hour stories to tell. You know, I think it's a very adaptable kind of a frame.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that? You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hi.
I would like to ask David if he...
A little closer to the mic, sorry.
Okay, so David, you played Denise in Twin Peaks, who was also an FBI agent. I had to mention that because it's amazing. And I wanted to know if you possibly thought that Denise kind of like inspired Mulder in this FBI sort of sense, kind of like...
I think it'd be more like he inspired Scully, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain because one minute he's like dressed like a woman and the next he's dressed like a dude, so I don't really know which one he really is.
Sounds about right to me.
But what I was asking was about the whole FBI. Do you think that kind of had some inspiration, FBI-wise? I'm sorry.
So did the character from Twin Peaks sort of have an inspiration FBI-wise on...
Yes.
No.
Okay, I had to bring some conspiracy in because,
Oh, okay.
you know, FBI, Fox Mulder, I just had to
Yeah.
ask.
No, you did fine.
You did good.
I'm just trying to answer your question.
I know it's kind of hard. I don't really understand it myself, but I had to bring conspiracy.
You did great.
Yeah.
Well done. Thanks.